Working at a beer store is wonderful because at any given time, there are dozens of examples of any given style of beer, all of which are great. And, people come in and they're like, have you tried everything here? And no, absolutely not. I wouldn't be able to do anything else with my days. I'm drunk all the time.
Amanda here, and welcome to a new episode of Great Beer Adventure. Today's interview is full of crazy imagery and talk of whales, so obviously we are sitting down with Kevin Broydrick, who writes the Clink for the Portland Phoenix. We also talk him into discussing how to navigate a beer store and what would happen if you drank all of the beers. Speaking of drinking all of the beers, I learned an important lesson this week. Don't drink and periscope. If you are interested in seeing examples, head over to greatbeeradventure.com/catch, spelt with a K. Now it's time to head on over to Novare Res, which, if you don't know where it is a little hard to find the first time you visit. Who knew that you could be in the middle of a city and still be so hard to find? Amanda here, and I am at the table today with Jen and Kevin Broydrick. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did, actually, yeah.
Today we are going to talk to Kevin about navigating beer stores and also the elusive whales. Now,
do tell.
Now, let's just start. No, I guess we'll hold on to my question about letters until we get into it. But this is the part of the show where we actually, I tell you what I have been able to Google about you.
Oh boy, okay.
Are you ready for this one?
I think so.
Okay, so if I'm correct in my Googling, which isn't always the case, just don't feel bad about it if it's not. I believe you have 3 jobs right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think 3.
Okay, so 1, admin assistant.
Office manager.
Office manager. You should update your LinkedIn profile.
Oh. Yeah, yes, I should.
Also, you work at a beer store here in Portland.
I do.
And you also work at the Portland Phoenix.
I do.
Where you write about, amongst other things, beer.
Yes, primarily beer.
Primarily beer. And you do a article or a section called the Clink.
Yeah, so there are so many sort of, burgeoning brewing businesses in and around Portland and southern Maine that I felt like I would have plenty of material to go on just going to the breweries, talking with the brewers and the owners about what they had going on and what new projects were coming down the pipeline and that sort of thing. So the Clink was born, and I think I just did one with Liquid Riot this past week, which I think was the 6th or so. So cool. Getting around, trying to keep everybody apprised of what the breweries are doing, and yeah.
Very nice.
And one last thing I found out, as long as it's the right Kevin Broydrick, you're getting married next September.
I am getting married next September, yes.
Yeah,
Thank
to
you.
Bridget.
To Bridget, yes.
Yeah.
Man,
You have
your
a
Googling
whole
skills are impressive.
website dedicated to that.
Yeah, that just went live a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Actually,
Wow.
So, yeah.
Good thing that I was procrastinaking, because we wouldn't have known that otherwise.
It's good. You know more about me than a lot of people, probably.
Did you know this about yourself? That's the key.
I try to keep as up on myself as I can. So, yeah, frequent, normal, self-Googling stuff. I'm where I need to be.
Excellent. As Jen likes to say, we should probably paint a picture of where we're sitting right now.
Yes.
Would you like to do that?
I would love
you're
to do
really
that.
good at that.
I love to do that. That's part of my improv skills. So we are at Novare Res, which is sort of off the beaten path in Portland, Maine, Little Portland, Maine. So it has a nice, lovely deck. Mm-hmm. However, it's October, and there's a chill in the air, so we're inside, which is nice. We have barrels and brickwork around us, and
It's a general
happy
feeling
people.
of mirth
Just a general
A quiet mirth.
A quiet
Yeah.
mirth, if you will.
Yeah.
And I will.
Well, excellent. On that mirthy note, let's jump right up into the first round.
I will take this round. This is the tasting. So you're going to tell us
Right.
about what we're tasting.
Sure.
Right?
So we have two different double IPAs from Maine here in front of us. One is Epiphany from Foundation, and the other is Daikaiju from Banded Horn. So both of these breweries have been around for, I think, both less than 2 years, but close. They opened around the same time, and they have both made waves with a lot of different styles. Foundation started out as primarily a farmhouse brewery doing traditional Belgian Saison styles, and they've since branched out into hoppier stuff, and they really struck a chord with Epiphany, and it's become a huge beer, both on draft around town and also when it goes out to distribution in cans. We sell it like crazy.
Yeah.
And similar deal with Daikaiju from Banded Horn. Foundation's based at One Industrial Way in Portland. Banded Horn is down in a reclaimed mill space in Biddeford. And the head brewer down there, Ian McConnell, started out at Six Point in Brooklyn and was the head brewer down there for several years, and then left to come back to Maine to kind of start his own thing. So he and his cousin Ron Graves started Banded Horn and have not looked back since.
We're glad they did.
Yes, and they're both very juicy, very piney, a lot of fruity, sort of suggestive flavors, and yeah, I love them both very much.
I like that term, fruity, suggestive flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah,
I
it's kind
like
of
that.
very sensual.
Very sensual beers. You can. It's a lovely smell. Scent.
Yeah, the
of
Epiphany has a lot
fragrance.
of nice, like, pineapple notes, some, like, berry, raspberry, with just, like, a backlash of really, like, gentle pine. Similar flavor profiles, really, with the two of them. Daikaiju, I get a little bit more, like, melon, citrus, kind of like grapefruit flavors, and
I'm a fan of that.
but yeah, very
Yeah, I really like
they're
that.
both over 8% ABV too, so the hops do a nice job of masking that. You don't need too many of these, basically, is the point. And yet I still drink too many of them.
Never too many.
I feel like the Epiphany's aroma jumps up at you more. I feel like the Daikaiju is a little...
Mellower.
Well, one of the nice things about
Subtle.
drinking,
Ooh,
one of the
yeah,
nice things
nice.
about drinking beer in a place like Novare too is that the lines will always be clean, and the IPAs at least will always be very, very fresh. So you're tasting exactly the way they're supposed to taste. You know,
Very
and,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, very similar flavors. But you can... There are subtle differences in the flavors, but I would say that, just head-to-head, the Epiphany does have more of the, like, jumps up and gets you, so it kind of brings you in quicker. But the Daikaiju, while it has a more subtle smell, aroma, but the taste is very similar.
Definitely. And similar mouthfeel. They
Yeah.
both have like a little bit of a creamy mouthfeel. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's
Figured we'd compare apples to apples today, if you
very
will.
nice.
So,
That's appropriate. The fall, being fall, you know.
This is the kind of apple picking that's really fun to do.
but you
my
can't do
favorite.
it all day. You get really tired and you have to take a nap.
Yeah.
True.
But I went apple picking last weekend, and you get tired going regular apple picking.
Oh, yeah.
True.
I'm sure. The struggle.
Yeah.
Struggle.
That's why I usually walk to the orchard and grab a bag of apples and a donut and cider and
Then leave.
Yeah.
That's the best part. The donut.
I mean, as you know, I'm getting married soon, so once I have kids, that orientation will probably rearrange itself. But,
Yes.
I've got
Yes.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of apple picking.
Yeah.
Nice.
More apple, don't put that in the bag game.
Oh, yeah. That makes
No,
sense.
that's
rotten.
for the deer.
Yeah.
That's right. No, leave that one too. Oh, not that one.
Oh, worms. No, none with worms,
Yeah.
please.
So this is actually a lot better.
Yeah. Very different. Yes.
Yeah.
Happy to be here
Yes.
for Novare
Nice.
apple picking.
Very nice.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into the second round. This is going to be kind of a two-parter. So part one is going to be helping us navigate the beer store, and then part two is that the elusive whale that you would like to talk about. And now I will say right now, like, you had said in your email to me that you'd like to talk about whales, and you chucked a Z on it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
But
Whales, bro.
whales, yeah. Can you tell me why we're deciding to go with the Z instead of the S for that particular?
I don't know. I guess it adds
Keeping it
a
fresh.
certain mystique. Yeah. Well,
A certain one.
well, it's funny. Whales is an interesting term because nobody knows what you mean when you're talking about whales in the beer world until you explain it, and then it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, working at a beer store is wonderful because at any given time there are dozens of examples of any given style of beer, all of which are great. And people come in and they're like, have you tried everything here? And no, absolutely not. I wouldn't be able to do anything else with my days. I'd be drunk all the time. But there are so many good beers at this point that it doesn't make any sense to me to spend all your time chasing a few specific beers that happen to be really critically acclaimed. I think of it like music. Pop music is a thing that exists, but you don't have everybody who considers themselves a music aficionado only investing their time in the things that are the most critically acclaimed.
Right.
And maybe it's a tough comparison to make, I guess, but I don't know. You just drink some beer. Like, there's so much good beer to be drank at this point. And a lot of those beers that are harder to come by are for a reason. With very few exceptions, they're all some of the best beers in the world. But it's a sliding scale, and the beers that are a tier below that are still incredible and much easier to get. And so that's kind of why I don't know. That's kind of why when I run up against somebody who's only interested in finding these super rare beers, it bothers me because I think they're doing themselves a disservice.
Right. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. So let's change gears and let's say that we're not that person that is so into beer that they can only have the whales. They can only have the ones that are super hard to find.
Right.
Often I hear people say, I get overwhelmed going into a beer store. Mm-hmm. So what is some advice that you would give to somebody that, is starting to really like good beer? They've seen the light, but they're kind of nervous about jumping in and.
Yeah, no, I think that's
me. Yeah, how I started.
So speak to Jen.
All right, I will. Well, no, that's a great question because it's like anything else with a specialized, sort of esoteric knowledge base. It can be really overwhelming when you're just coming at it early on, and you're afraid to ask the wrong question. You're afraid that which was one of the nice things. I worked for a while for the main brew bus, and one of the great things that those tours allow is just a completely judgment-free, open forum to ask anything that you want. Nice. And when people aren't worried about being wrong, it's much easier for them to enjoy themselves and to learn. So when people come in, my first question is, well, what do you like? Know what you like. That's probably the first thing to learn, Do you like a really hop-forward, paler ale? Do you like something darker and more roasty? Do you like a beer that might be a little bit funky or sour? That's a really good place to start because the question that bothers me is when somebody comes into the store and it's just like, well, what do you have that's special? And, what I want to do is just everything.
Special.
Yeah, exactly. So,
picking your favorite kid.
Yeah. Just like that. So, yeah, learn what you like and come in with an open mind.
So now, something that I've been trying to tell people is to think about the flavors that they like. So if somebody came to you and said, I really like how tart and salty margaritas are, is that something that you'd be able to work with? If they weren't necessarily up on the beer, if they knew what they liked flavor-wise, would you be able to help somebody like that out? To
an extent, yeah. If somebody liked the kind of tart saltiness of a margarita, try a Goes. It's a sour wheat beer with salt in it. That's there are associations that you can make. And oftentimes, even if somebody comes in with a very limited flavor, like my dad, for example, always drank Rolling Rock, always drank, just like really adjunct light lager. And he and my